Oh, hey now. So, welcome to the second installment. I don't know if I've got an official title for it, but it's basically if you like this, you'll probably like that. Um, and so, if you want to get more of an idea of what this whole series is about, you can go to the first one, but here's number two. The basic idea is I like to be able to share music that I feel is not dissimilar from something else. So, if you remember in the old days, you'd be walking through the aisles of Blockbuster, eyes glazed over, trying to figure out what movie to rent. And sometimes I'd spend like an hour in there. I couldn't find anything that I really wanted to rent. They had something that is kind of a recommendation. It's kind of an analog, as it were, physical recommendation engine. And that was, if you like this, you might like that. And I always like that idea. I think it kind of directs you into some things that either you forgot about or that you don't know about and you're willing to take a flyer on. So that's kind of the idea. I'm going to put together either albums or artists with others that I feel are a natural connection. And you can check them out. If you think that you like one, you might like the other. So start off with what I would call late career Nick Lowe. I was into Nick Lowe from, I guess, the very beginning, from Pure Pop for Now People, or what it was called, that first record, Jesus of Cool. I didn't know Brinsley Schwartz. I knew of the band, but I didn't know them. But loved Nick Lowe right from the beginning. He cheeky, humorous, called him the Basher, great pop hooks, a great bass player and singer-songwriter. He's the guy who wrote What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding. Everyone thinks, or many think, that Elvis Costello wrote that. And of course, it's a signature tune in his live performances, but it's a Nick Lowe song. There's another part of Nick Lowe, which is so-called late career Nick Lowe. And my friend Jeff and friend Simon both have been steering me to check out late career Nick Lowe. And for whatever reason, I wasn't really that interested. And then Simon, as he's wont to do, bought me a Nick Lowe, late career Nick Lowe called Magic Time, which I've got filed away over there. Really enjoyed that, but he said this other one is the one to get to really have a good idea. So what is the difference between late career Nick Lowe and early career Nick Lowe? Ultimately, he's kind of aged well, and he's now performing like a respectable older gentleman, let's say, So he's reflective. It's not quite the basher, power pop stuff that he was famous for in the early days. He's really, almost borderline crooner in the best sense of the word, like the Richard Hawley school or Frank Sinatra school, more on that later. He doesn't really sound like it exactly, but lyrically fantastic. The vocals are in the foreground. And the lyrical content is great, and it's unmissable because it is quite, I guess, beautifully produced. I'm assuming Nick produced his own stuff. I'll check in a minute, but very, very listenable and something you can put on in the evening. It's not going to jar you. It really is. It flows beautifully. But this is late career Nick Lowe, The Convincer, and Home Wrecker, great tune, kicks off the album. The one that really just slays me is Cupid Must Be Angry, about a guy who just is not lucky in love. And he's lamenting that Cupid must be angry with him because he can't find anybody. But musically, lyrically, wonderful. And the epitome of late career where somebody is singing, is not doing the same old. He's basically become a really great singer-songwriter and a little more quiet and lovely, and really good. So Nick Lowe, The Convincer. Nick must have produced this, right? Yeah, produced by Nick Lowe and Neil Brockbank, who I don't know, but Nick's been a producer for years and produced Elvis Costello's first 3 or 4 records, I think. So if you like Nick Lowe, you like late career Nick Lowe, or maybe you like this other artist I'm going to mention, but I feel like they kind of fall in the same camp, and that would be Frank Sinatra, considered to be maybe one of the first concept albums in the wee small hours. And I've been coming to appreciate Frank Sinatra's stuff, and this is a really nice record. Again, beautifully sung. It's from the perspective of a guy who's not that young anymore, and he knows it, and lamenting also loss of love in his life. And It's a really nice record. Just wondering if this is, it's got some beautiful strings on it. Yeah, it's arranged and conducted by Nelson Riddle. I was watching a Mazzy episode recently, and he was talking about Canzone di Mi Padre, which is the album that Linda Ronstadt did, music of my father, and her Spanish or Mexican roots, I guess. And Nelson Riddle conducts the strings, the string arrangements on this particular album. So you like Nick Lowe? Check out this Frank Sinatra record, even if you're not a big Frank fan. I think this stands alone. This is really one of my big intros into Frank Sinatra. And if you're a Frank Sinatra fan, check out late Nick Lowe. And if you've always liked Nick Lowe and you didn't check late career stuff, don't make the same mistake I did. Get into it, listen to it. Now you got streaming services, you can check it out. Cupid Must Be Angry, that's a good starting point. And Home Wrecker, that's really good. Another band that I've loved, this is number 2, I try to do 4 in these segments, was this group, the Neville Brothers. Neville Brothers from New Orleans, that great New Orleans kind of funk, I don't know if you'd call it a little bit of Zydeco influence, but kind of offshoot from the Meters and that kind of sound. But the Neville Brothers, the album this is called Fire on the Bayou. And it's got Hey Pocky Way, Sitting in Limbo, Brother John, Iko is great. Really nice record. But the one that I would recommend, if you don't already know, don't have it on vinyl, but it's Yellow Moon. I should take it out of the case. So this was the one that I think really introduced me to the Neville Brothers. And it was produced by Daniel Lanois. And it's got Daniel Lanois' fingerprints all over it. It's kind of, Lanois, I don't know if he had it at the time, but has a New Orleans studio, but it's got that murky, swampy, moody kind of Daniel Lanois production. And it's just fantastic. So if you're going to jump into the Neville Brothers first time, I would say Yellow Moon would be a good place to start. Fire on the Bayou is really good as well. But this is a band I don't know much about. My friend Dave came over and brought this over, and it had been recommended through one of the British music magazines. I don't know, Q, Mojo, Uncut, one of those ones, and it just got reissued. But this is a really nice kind of soulful, funky, with a heavier dose of African music. Got some African sort of tone to it, but this is a really nice record. I've showed this before. Let's see, upside down, kind of a freaky cover. I don't know, as I say, anything about these guys, but I would also recommend that you stream this. It's got a really nice groove to it, and that would be the connection for me between the Neville Brothers and this group, Cymande, because there is a groove, there is a kind of a funk undertone to the recordings that is really, really wonderful. So you like the Neville Brothers, check out these guys. Taking a complete detour, these are all actually older records, but I feel like there's a strong connection to them. And so I'm going to kind of bunch them all together. So probably of all of these, the album that is maybe best known for people who are listening to this channel would be REM's Reckoning. This was is my favorite REM record. I'm still kind of not playing my old REM records, not resisting per se, but it's interesting. I'm hearing people talk a lot about REM. They're starting to re-release their back catalog, at least the Warner stuff. And I think I'm getting very close to going back and replaying REM, but for some reason for years, I've just kind of left it on the shelf. Unlike U2, I can see myself putting the records on proactively and wanting to hear it again. I don't know why with U2. I don't mean to hammer them, but they've got enough fans, it doesn't really matter. But I just don't see myself kind of going, I really want to put on U2. And to be even more incendiary, everybody who talks about Led Zeppelin, I mean, oh my God, Led Zeppelin is fantastic, but I have not put on a side of Led Zeppelin in probably 35 years or something, and I don't think I'm going to start. I don't know. I heard enough Led Zeppelin in the day, and it's just not something that I really am drawn towards. REM, however, I'm sure I'll be getting back into this again. So this album, Reckoning, and in particular the song, what is the song off of this? Harbor Coat, yeah. Harbor Coat, I love kind of the roughness of it, and the whole album I really like. So REM, Reckoning, believe it's their second record. Also probably quite familiar to people, so this won't be as a big surprise as Sugar's Copper Blue. You know, if anybody found that Husker Du was a little bit too loud and noisy, I did. The early stuff wasn't really my cup of tea. It was just a little bit too much, but I did really enjoy Candy Apple Grey and Songs for Warehouses, and there was another one in that era, and I don't remember off the top of my head. And then when Bob Mould jumped into the band Sugar, I got to see him in Japan and really enjoyed that. But this is a much more straight-ahead pop record with a heaviness to it, but really nice pop record, Copper Blue. Haven't played this for a while either, but I did play it to death in the day. I feel that this is a record that I think it's the first Only Ones record, and well known for the song Another Girl, Another Planet, but this is a really good record, The Whole of the Law. There's a kind of sloppiness to this that I really love. Really catchy, but you know, there are certain bands, and certainly the Replacements are the epitome of that, where there's a kind of beautiful sloppiness to what they do. And it's part of their charm, I guess. And you know, when is it too sloppy and falling apart? Well, I've seen them live, and I certainly have seen them real sloppy, and it was too much. And then they'd have moments of total brilliance. But the Only Ones, again, the single Another Girl, Another Planet, but this is their self-titled, I believe. Yeah, first record, I believe. And Another Girl, Another Planet. But there's a lot of great stuff on here. Sloppy goodness from the Only Ones. So those three, I feel kind of, there's a kinship between all of them in terms of their energy, their pop kind of sensibility. The one that I don't know gets enough love, having talked about the Replacements, was this particular solo record from Paul Westerberg, 14 songs. This, for me, is my favorite Paul Westerberg solo record. Looking forward to getting it on vinyl if and when it becomes available. It may actually be available, but I've always loved Paul Westerberg as a singer-songwriter. I think he can get to the core of human emotion, and sometimes he has a sort of superficial, everything is good, and attitude about, I'm all right, Jack. But you know, he plants the seeds, both in terms of performance and lyrically, that things aren't all good. And I love that about him. He definitely wears his heart on his sleeve. But this record, 14 songs, is exquisite. And all the way through to me, like Knockin' on Mine is just a great blistering opening track. And he performed that on Saturday Night Live. You can see that on YouTube, and highly recommend it. It's a real, again, just breakneck pace, just always teetering on the edge of falling apart, which I really enjoy from, you know, from him and from some other artists. First Glimmer's nice. Runaway Wind, again, just a beautiful kind of ballad, and very touching. Dice Behind Your Shades, really good. Things is really great. Things I Tried to Tell You. Yeah. Again, lyrically and musically, this to me is an absolute 5 out of 5. Love this record, 14 songs from Paul Westerberg. So if you like the others, give this one a try if you don't know it. Again, I think this one might be the one that isn't as well known, and can strongly recommend. And the fourth in the installment, I've got a few records that I'm going to kind of tie together. And I don't even know where to start, because some of the stuff is sort of moderately familiar for some people and maybe not for others. So Young Marble Giants, remember getting this when I was in university, so a long time ago. Colossal Youth, really, really stripped down, quite simple, lots of space in the arrangements, not a lot of instrumentation, very, very simple. So Allison Staton, voice, Philip Moxham, bass, Stuart Moxham, guitar and organ. Love it when they've got family members together. And the organ is really just like a, I don't know what you call it, but it's a kind of a cheesy organ, but it's done very well. And this has become quite I guess a hit, certainly a strong cult classic. It's been re-released on vinyl, Colossal Youth. Female vocals, I guess, ties all of this together, but also the vibe. It tends to be very low-key and atmospheric, I guess, best way I could put it. Young Marble Giants, Colossal Youth. So if you know that, you might be interested in this band, the XX. Also very understated, some reverb, 2 members, I think, in the band, female vocals. And this is a really nice record. Again, it's like a lot of stuff that I really like. It really is a solid piece from beginning to end. In other words, it creates a mood and it doesn't break from that mood all the way through. Languid female vocals and lots of atmosphere and vibe. So the Double X, I think if you like Young Marble Giants, you might like this as well. Another band that I feel kind of falls in that same camp would be, but it's definitely got more going on, would be the early Everything But the Girl. So this is Eden. I think this might be their first record. It's certainly the first one I got. It came out in 1984. But many people, basically Everything But the Girl became quite well known later in their career, and they became quite electronic and had a very different sound. So Tracy Thorn and Ben Watt, who I believe is her husband, are Everything But the Girl. We used to, little side note, but some friends and I, we would, when we were really into these guys and we were having a fun summer, we'd say things like in a movie trailer, you know, I'm enjoying everything about the summer. It's wonderful. I have everything but the girl. Yeah, quite often I had everything but the girl. This is more about me than anything, and doing those stupid voices. But there's a lot more going on for sure, musically. But Tracy Thorn's vocals, I really like, again, her understated. It's kind of also somewhat languid, but this is definitely more pop than the Double X or Young Marble Giants. Well, Young Marble Giants has kind of got a poppy stuff too, but there's more arrangements, there's more instrumentation, but there's a lament to a lot of this, and it kind of does feel like relationships that are teetering on the edge and not really working. So Everything But the Girl, Eden. And really this record in particular, and Tracy Thorn's got, I think, 1 or 2 solo records as well that she did early on Cherry Red Records that are really good, very stripped bare. And she did, sort of another link, but she did a recording with Paul Weller and his incarnation in the Style Council on the Paris Match. Now, I can't remember. Paris Match is on this record, My Ever-Changing Moods. Style Council, very different band. You know, if you're a Paul Weller fan, you probably know Style Council, but if you don't, I could see somebody being a Style Council fan and not being a Jam fan. But this has really got some nice, I mean, the photo on the cover here, it does feel kind of like European bistro music. You know, I remember at the time thinking, it seems a little pretentious, but it's actually really good music. And Long Hot Summer isn't on this record, I guess, but My Ever-Changing Moods was a single, and the Paris Match. And if not on this record, I'm sure you can find the streaming services on the single, but Tracy Thorn sings backup vocals, and it's like a torch ballad / jazz number. Very different than what Paul Weller and the Jam were doing before that. It's really, really nice. So I think Style Council is another one that, again, we're moving from the most basic of Young Marble Giants up to the Double X switches or the XX, which is also very simple arrangements. And I don't say that pejoratively. I think being simple is sometimes the best. And then you move to this, Everything But the Girl, which has got definitely more going on arrangements-wise, instrumentation, and maybe a little more upbeat, but feels like a nice transition also to the Style Council, My Ever-Changing Moods, that album, and then introducing the Style Council as well. And I've got a few 12-inch singles. So that's it for this episode of If You Like This, You Might Like That, or whatever I'm going to call it. I haven't put the title on yet. And Carpe Diem, MFs.